Hello and welcome to this episode of the Game Plan podcast by College Baseball Advisors. On the Game Plan, we talk about all things related to college baseball, recruiting and development being two main parts. I'm your host, Wayne Mazzoni. My background is 30 years as a college baseball coach, current college baseball recruiting advisor. For more information about what I do, please visit my website, collegebaseballadvisor.com. On today's episode, we had John Muller, who's the head baseball coach at Union College in New York. John and I have known each other for quite a while through his evolution travel teams when he would come to camps that I was running, and I got to meet him and see his team and see how he operates. He's an awesome guy, awesome baseball guy. So we talked about his background, playing high school sports, hockey and baseball. And then interestingly, in the recruiting process, he was one class short in his senior year with chemistry. That didn't allow him to be qualified for Division One. So he wound up going to St. Thomas Aquinas in New York and had a great career there playing for Scott Muscat, the coach. He started off as a hitter, transitioned to pitching, and actually then was signed by the Cubs after college and spent several years with affiliated ball and independent ball as a pitcher. When he got out of that, he started coaching at St. Thomas and then eventually took over the program at Mount St. Vincent in New York, where he was there 7 years. And now he's entering his third season at Union. And we talked a variety of things about Union, about his recruiting style, his recruiting process, and it was very informative talk. I'd like to remind you that this podcast is made possible through the sponsorship of the Mohegan Sun World Baseball Coaches Convention, which actually starts in 1 month, January 15th to 17th. 2006 at the Mohegan Sun Casino. Great speakers at a great venue, great vendors, and a wonderful setup to really get your baseball juices flowing, to learn, talk baseball, and just be around like-minded people. If you've been to this event, you don't need me to preach about it. If you have not been, you really should go. I think you'll become a regular attendee. For more information about what they do, please visit their website, baseballcoachesclinic.com. And without further delay, here's my conversation with John Muller, head baseball coach at Union College.
Yep.
So, John, you and I were just having a brief conversation before I hit that record button that this is your first ever podcast. So, like,
Yes.
you're a rookie in the room right now for the podcast. But
Yep.
as I told you, it's just two dudes that know each other talking baseball. No, nothing tricky, no setup questions. So I'm excited to have you. You and I have known each other for a long time. I think we vibe in terms of just our baseball style, and this will be fun to kind of get to know each other better. So as I had said to you also before I hit record, I couldn't find out where you were from. Again, there's a lot of background stuff online, but you had told me that you grew up in Mahopac. So what I want to ask you is I kind of ask everyone, athletically as a kid from even just say like junior high school up, obviously you were a baseball guy. Everyone that comes on here is a baseball guy. Were you a baseball only guy or did you play other sports?
Oh no, I played everything. Growing up, I played every single sport, as many sports as I could. My dad wouldn't let me play football for a little bit until I put on some weight. Rightfully so. I'm kind of doing the same thing with my kids. But I played soccer, hockey, baseball, basketball a little bit. As I got older, when I got to high school, it was really just baseball and hockey. Hockey kind of took up the whole winter, and baseball took up the whole, basically fall, spring, summer for me.
So hockey, we're talking, I mean, I know the answer to this, but we're talking legit on skates, on ice
Yeah.
hockey.
Well, yeah, I was good. I was pretty good. Some people actually thought I was better at hockey than I was at baseball until I got pretty deep into high school. I just loved, I liked hockey. I enjoyed hockey. I loved baseball, so I trained for baseball. Like when I was home, everything I did was baseball, hitting off the tee, playing in the backyard. I did some hockey stuff, but hockey was more of just a fun thing for me. And I enjoyed doing it. And I think it was helpful with my baseball career because it kept me in shape.
Well, and the other thing that's a little bit funny to me is like you said, your dad wouldn't let you play football. But I
No.
mean, I've seen enough hockey to know there's smashing people around there too, right?
Yeah, I could move a little bit though. I could get out of the way. And then as I got older, I was small, so for the longest time, I'm a big guy now, when I'm in the room, but from literally right after we got to the big field, right, that age gap from 13U to 15U was really tough for me for baseball, because I was a smaller guy. I was an undersized guy. So it didn't affect me in hockey,
Right.
but it crushed me in baseball because all of a sudden the ball wasn't getting where it was supposed to go anymore. The throws are longer. my speed wasn't as much of a factor anymore. And those age groups were tough. But for hockey, I was faster than everybody else. And I moved around people and I made it work. I actually played varsity hockey in 8th grade,
Wow. Wow.
for Carmel.
Yeah.
Because Mayapack didn't have a hockey team. So, and in 8th grade, I was playing modified baseball in Mayapack.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, it just, baseball was just my passion. And once I got bigger, I moved to defense and hockey, and all of a sudden, baseball kind of took off.
When did you hit that growth spurt? Was it in high school at some point?
Yeah, my junior into senior year, I kind of got to the 6 foot mark, 6'1", and I started gaining. I still was skinny. Really, when I got to STAC, I started. Coach Muscat got us really into working out and really into a lot of things that you don't really think about or do in high school, especially when we were growing up. There wasn't much. I'm 41 now. Like, it's not like what it is today.
No,
it was totally different. So I started working out, started eating right, started gaining some weight, and all of a sudden I was basically almost 200 pounds, as a sophomore. And then my I never pitched. We're going to talk about it later, I'm sure, but I didn't pitch at all until my junior year of college, when I kind of went to Muscat and was like, hey man, we need a guy out of the pen. Let me throw. So I never did any of that because like my velo was okay. Like I could do things well. Like I was still a recruited athlete out of high school, but I wasn't what I was when I got to college based off of my growth spurt and, my, how I developed.
and I do want to talk about that. And actually, I want to make one comment with that. Is I think in this day and age, in college baseball at any level, with the talent, the age of the older age, that it's almost impossible to be a two-way guy early in your career. Getting to a new environment with older kids, with the new classes, a new living situation, and now you're going to try to play defense, hit, and pitch. It seems to make more sense to get somebody confident and good at one thing for a little, and then say, "Hey, dude, by the way, we knew you used to pitch, or we knew," and maybe later in the career, because that seems like what had happened to you is just what you said. Like, by the time you were established player, you now go to the coach and say, "Listen, I can pitch too." It seems to make sense.
Yeah, and it worked out. I mean, everything I threw hard. I threw harder than everybody else around me, right? So I'm like, at the end of the day, let me get out there and try to close these games out for us. We're putting up 10, 12 runs a game. Our offense was great at STAC. We were doing a really good job. It's just we didn't have a deep enough pitching staff at that time.
Right.
And I went on, I just said, hey, man, let me throw. And I went out there, started striking guys out, and teams were already looking at me from an offensive standpoint, at third and short. And then they're like, whoa, you pitch too? And then I had half these guys wanting me to pitch and half these guys wanting me to hit. And, it was a really cool experience. But even when I got to pro ball, like, I had no clue what I was doing on the mound. We didn't even have a pitching coach at STAC. It was, I think that one year, I think Muscat, we kind of lost the pitching coach and we kind of rolled through the season without it. So I was just picking my leg up and letting it eat. And then when I got to the Cubs, it was, I was learning in A-ball. Like, I did well enough when I got there. And in A-ball, I was learning as I was going, which was...
And sometimes for some kids, that's actually a better way. Like, you're not thinking 15 things, you're just out there performing. And then, yes, there are things to learn, but I would almost say to a fault, young kid, like when people ask me about lessons and their parents says, I got a 9-year-old, I'm like, dude, just let that kid be athletic, man. Like, he doesn't need to be thinking 10 things. But I do want it, before we skip over it, what do you remember about the recruiting process and what eventually got you to STAC? What do you remember at this point?
So I had a really, really tough experience with that. I went into my senior year. I had chemistry on my schedule. It was my last class of the day. And I already had my Regents diploma. I had like an 84 GPA. Like, I was doing really well. There were a bunch of schools I was talking to. I thought I was all set. I was good to go with where I was going to go. And then I dropped chemistry going into the spring. And my guidance counselor didn't know. So
I know where this is
I was
going.
no longer eligible to play Division I baseball, and I had to produce a waiver to be able to play Division II. So I called. I'm like, well, what are we going to do? So my buddies were going to STAC, and I was like, all right, well, sounds like a pretty cool place. It's D2 baseball. Their team wasn't that great at the time. Muscat had just gotten the job like the year before,
right?
And I was here. I mean, if you looked at me then, you would never thought I was going to be a professional baseball player. Work ethic wise and effort wise and intensity wise, it was all there. Just from a talent standpoint, you wouldn't say this guy's going to end up throwing 90 miles an hour or
Right.
end up hitting the ball and hitting 400 in college. Like I was a good hitter. I was an above average high school baseball player that worked really hard. And I called Muscat and I was like, hey man, I got into STAC. I'm ineligible to play Division I. I put in a waiver to play Division II. I'd love to have the opportunity to play. He goes, yeah, man, come on and try out in the fall. I called Griner at Concordia. I called a bunch of different other guys in the local area. Concordia was the best Division II team in the country
Right.
at that point. And I actually have a great relationship with Griner now. Every time he sees me, he's like, oh, that was the biggest mistake I've ever made. And I love it. It's good to hear. But I am so grateful for everything that Scott Muscat gave me, that opportunity. I showed up that day and I took BP. He goes, wait, who are you?
Right.
And then from that day on, he gave me a scholarship and kind of we stayed there. It was great. I had a great experience. I got to play with my high school friends were there, built great relationships. And we had a handful of guys drafted, and we were able to turn the program around. Obviously, he was a big part of it, bringing in the types of players that we needed. But it was an outstanding experience. And, I really enjoyed it. I had opportunities to leave. Like now you have these portal things and do some things. But, like, it was just great. Like Muscat's a great dude. And he ran a great program and the players that we had, it was just an awesome experience. And I think it even trumped anything we did in professional baseball, because it's so much more about the team and the winning and, and the process that we love, professional baseball wasn't about that for me. So I really, really am happy that I dropped chemistry. Even though it didn't work out, for me to play at a higher level or even to be able to do certain things, I think it was the perfect thing to happen for me for my life to play Division II baseball for Muscat at St. Thomas Aquinas College because I played every game. I started every game. I have a bunch of different records. I'm in the Hall of Fame there now too, which is pretty cool. It was an awesome experience, and I try to, from the recruiting standpoint, I try to tell kids that all the time. It's not about Division I. It's not about this. It's not about chasing this. It's about creating that, finding that experience, getting a chance to develop, and have a good coach and be part of a good program and a good team. And I think I really got to have that, and I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot from that. Number one, right? You're one core shy of being eligible, right? And that and that changes your path. And what you think was maybe even devastating at the time, as you look back now, it's the old everything happens for a reason, and it got you to the place that you had a great career. And Scott Muscat, I've known a long time and is salt of the earth guy. I mean, I remember, correct me if I'm wrong, I would imagine it was your whole career there. He was a high school teacher and then would come over and coach college baseball. Talk about working hard and recruiting and doing all these things. He's just a super guy.
And he had kids.
Yeah.
I think he had 4 kids or 3 kids. He had all of his kids while I was in college. So he had one already. Then he kept having them. And like now that I'm a college coach, like I have so much more appreciation for what he did.
Right.
And how he built that program. And he did it with no assistance.
Yeah.
Like when Garvey was his assistant coach, Garvey was on my team. You know what I mean? So it's like at the end of the day, I mean, there was a couple guys, they'd come and go. Manny Del Rosario was the only, steady assistant, but he also had a full-time job and kids. So he wasn't there all the time. So the things that Muscat did and built, it's pretty incredible with the way he did it. He's such, like I said, salt of the earth. He's a great human being, great baseball player. And he used to hit with us and do things with us. And we'd be like, what is this guy doing? And he was just as good as he was probably in college.
Wow. That's funny. Yeah. So when you had mentioned before, you were getting some interest as a position player, then you start to pitch, you're throwing hard, you start getting interest there. At what stage in college did you realize people are interested, I'm being watched, I got a shot to play after college?
My sophomore year, I had a bunch of different workouts before the season started with the Braves, the Rays. Muscat took me to a thing in Newark, New Jersey that had a bunch of scouts there, and I filled out a couple letters. Funny thing is, I forget the guy's first name, but Stewart, the Brave scout, when I was at the Braves workout, like I was the last guy they kept me till the end. So there was a couple of guys always standing there. The Braves guy pulls me aside. He goes, hey, John, you want to pitch? I'm like, nah, I don't pitch. He goes, well, you look like a pitcher to me. He's like, and from shortstop, you're throwing the ball like a pitcher. He goes, can I see you throw a couple? And the cocky, now I'm an idiot. Now I'm making these dumb decisions because I'm thinking, like a 18-year-old kid. And I'm like, I'm a shortstop, like maybe a third baseman, but I'm an infielder. Right? I can hit. I can do some things. Like I don't need to be pitching yet. And he goes, you don't want to throw? I'm like, no, I'm okay. I'm not going to throw today because I've never pitched before either.
Right.
So it's like whatever in my mind. I just kind of like thought, and I left that conversation now in the back of my mind thinking, man, I could have got a pretty good signing bonus if I would have thrown that day.
Right.
But at the end of the day, I went through my sophomore year, was a position player the whole entire year. And then I pitched going into my junior year. We were not doing really well, and Muscat started letting me practice pitching, and then he kind of gave me a shot, and we started winning more games because I was coming in to pitch at the end.
Right.
So I'd play short or third for the majority of the game, and then when the game got close towards the end, he would just put me in and I'd pitch. And it was fun, man. I loved closing. Loved it. It was really cool. It was a great experience. Granted, I had no clue what I was doing, but I had a really good slider, I had a really good fastball that worked really well.
Good arm, 2 pitches for strikes, and competitive. That's enough to make it work for sure.
Yeah,
right?
and I wanted to win, man. I wanted to win. That was what I wanted. That's what we were the underdogs at STAC in the beginning. I know they were a powerhouse after I left, but we were underdogs everywhere we went, and I kind of liked it. I kind of loved that stuff, and it fired me up. I wanted to beat everybody. I wanted to change the program, and we did that. But back to the pitching. The pitching thing really, really started my junior year, and I got the first real part of it. Like going into the draft my junior year, I kind of figured it wasn't going to happen after all the conversation I was having. But going into my senior year, that's when it got real. We got to Florida. All of a sudden, all these guys are showing up to watch me play. They're staying to watch me pitch. After every game in Florida, I was having a conversation with 1 or 2 scouts. I was filling out paperwork. We get back up north, same thing. Even games I don't pitch in, they're coming and watching me hit. After the game, I remember throwing a bullpen for the Yankees at Concordia in the bullpen after a game. So now it really was coming down to, okay, I think I got a real shot, but where's it going to be? What's it going to be? What am I going to be doing? And I really wanted to be I probably wasn't a shortstop at the professional level. I was probably more of a third baseman. But I wanted to hit, just like every kid when you're telling him he's not a two-way anymore in college.
Right.
Here, we all do it. I wanted to be a position player. So the Cubs gave me an opportunity. Basically, we finished our last game against Dowling. Muscat tells me, hey, I may be jumping the gun here, but I'm going to
No, this is good. This is good.
Muscat pulls me aside after the game. So I just blew the game. And then I hit a walk-off to win the game. Muscat pulls me aside after the game and goes, hey, the Cubs called. And because you had to redshirt your freshman year, you are eligible to sign before the draft. He's interested in signing you tomorrow. Give him a call. So I'm like, he didn't tell me that. He said he wants to talk to you. Give him a call.
Right.
So I give him a call. Billy Blitzer, who's probably, he's been around forever. Great guy. Calls me. He picks up the phone and I'm like, hey, John, how you doing? I'd love to have a conversation with you. Hey, man, we'd love to offer you a contract, but we'd want you to sign tomorrow. We want you to come down to Arizona before the draft. We'll give you a chance to hit. We'll let you pitch a little bit. And then by the time we have the draft, we're going to make a decision on what you're going to do. You have this opportunity. They gave me a good little bonus for a guy who's coming from nowhere.
Right.
And so I'm like, I didn't have an agent. I didn't have anything prepared. I wasn't ready. I was expecting to have to graduate because I graduated, I think a day later or something like that. And I was going to prepare. I called all the scouts that were really, really interested in me at the time. And the Cardinals scout who I was talking to a bunch was just straight up honest with me and told me, you better sign that contract.
Interesting.
Like, he's like, you're going to, like, these other things can happen. Like, it doesn't matter what round and things like that. But what you're getting and the situation that they're going to put you in is a great opportunity for you. And I had a good relationship with that scout. And I was like, you know what? You're probably right. So I called my dad. I told him what was going on. They drove up. Billy Blitzer drove to my dorm room the next day. I signed, gave me a Cubs hat. I put a Cubs jersey on. I did the whole signing thing there and graduated the next day or the day after, and then flew to Arizona the
Wow.
day after that.
What
And
year was
then
that?
2007.
2007. Okay. Yep.
So, and then it just took off. Like I got there and I pitched really, really well. And that's when I knew I was not hitting anymore because I was doing so well on the mound, and I had no clue what I was doing.
So you wound up, so basically it's 2007, you sign.
Mm-hmm.
Do you go right to play? Do they put you right
Right in?
Right
so,
in.
So basically, extended spring training is going on.
Yes, right.
So basically, short season hasn't started yet, but they put me into extended to let me kind of do some things, feel some ground balls, hit some baseballs. Like there's practice every day. There's a game, every other day.
Yeah,
You're playing
yeah.
another team down in Arizona. It's essentially spring training with the guys that are younger or last year's draft class waiting to go to single A.
Right.
So for me, it was a really good experience to like compete initially against professionals, right? So especially coming from Division II, because there was Division I guys, there were some really top draft picks, the high school kids that were pretty damn good. So it was a good experience for me, and I was able to learn some things, and I did well enough so that they had the draft, and I skipped rookie ball and went straight to A ball.
Wow.
With the draft picks, and it kind of just took off from there. I had a little learning curve. My first couple experiences on the mound weren't as great as I wanted them to be. Then I kind of got confident. I figured it out, and I finished the season my first year really, really well. Went into what do they have after, what's it called? Fall.
Yeah, they have instructional.
So yeah. I went to Instructs, went home. Next year came back. I was throwing even harder, doing even better. I got a 1 ERA. I got called up about halfway through the season to Peoria. Did well there. And then went back to, at the end of the season, went back to the Instructs. And then came back to spring training the next year. I ended up getting released, which kind of stunk because I was doing pretty well in my opinion. But I was older, and they made a trade with the Phillies and they got a younger player. So essentially they told me like, hey man, we're not going to send you down to A ball. Right. We're going to let you go. And by now you probably get picked up. Hopefully someone will pick you up. I had a 1 ERA the year before.
Right.
And it was the last couple of days of spring training. So I just kind of had to figure it out. And I ended up signing with the Rockford Riverhawks, and I was doing really well. Same thing continued from the year before, and then ended up getting really sick. I ended up getting a blood infection, and all my organs failed. And
wow,
I ended up being in the hospital in Wisconsin for a while, for over a month.
Jeez, wow.
Had a private nurse when I got home, all that good stuff.
Wow.
So rehabbed the whole season. Then I jumped into the Atlantic League the next year, and it went well again, and then my arm
just pitching there too. So Atlantic was just pitching at this point.
Yeah, once the Cubs turned me into a pitcher, it was just pitching.
Right.
I kind of locked in on that, and I was having fun. I was a closer everywhere I went, and I was having success. I had a 1 in Rockford. I had a 1 in Boise. I had a 3, I think, in Peoria when I got called up. Then I had a 1 in Rockford. Then I had a 1 in Lancaster. I got traded from Lancaster to York. My agent started talking to some teams. I thought I was going to get picked up again. And at York, I was just trying to get out of there. I was pitching every day. And then I ended up having some arm issues. Right. And it kind of went downhill from there the rest of the season. And the teams that were talking to my agent kind of fell through. And I was ready to hang them up because at that point, my 5th year or 4th year. And was ready to hang them up. And then the Rockland Boulders built a stadium right near STAC. So I'm getting into I was doing my speech in Rockland at STAC for my Hall of Fame dinner, and the owner is there, and he goes, "Hey John, would love to have you on the Boulders." I'm like, "Man, I don't even know if I can throw,
right,
but I'll do it."
Right.
So I signed thinking I'm going to be a closer, and I get there and they're like, "Oh, you're going to start." And now, wait, I'm 20. I don't even know how old I was at that point. I never started a game before in my life.
Right.
So in that, and as you know, that is a completely different animal.
Totally different
than what you do as a closer. Like I was max effort, let it eat, high energy guy. That does not work.
No.
When you're a starter.
If you're an opener, yes. A starter, no.
So it was an up and down experience. I think I had my first outing was awful because I went out there, I warmed up for an hour, I listened to the music, I was stretching, I threw 100 pitches in the pen. Everything I tell these kids not to do now,
You learn by doing it the wrong way. Yeah.
When I'm teaching roles, like an experience and through my experiences. Then my next outing, who was my pitcher? Who's the coach? Dave LaPointe, Yankee guy.
Yeah.
And he goes, "Hey, John, like in the Atlantic League, you were dominating. Why don't you do what you did there?" I'm like, "Well, you made me a starter." He goes, "Well, do exactly what you did there, but do it from the start of the game." I'm like, "All right, cool." So I warmed up. I pitched. I went out there, threw 8 pitches, went into the game. I think I threw 8 against the Jackals. No hit, struck out 20 guys. Fastball slider as hard as I could. I was throwing a perfect game into the 8th, and then I gave up a couple walks. We ended up losing, which sucks, but it was such an up and down experience because then I started treating it like that, and you would either get really, really good version of me or I'd burn out quick.
But that level of baseball still, I mean, there's some real good players in the Atlantic League. I mean, to me, Atlantic League, the games I've seen looks like AA ball to me.
Oh, it was awesome.
Yeah.
I got to say this, the Atlantic League was by far the toughest competition that I played.
I totally believe it.
When I was with the Cubs. I mean, I never made it to AA, right? So like I'm sure AA's the same, better. It's got to be better, right?
Right.
The Atlantic League was by far better than
yeah, because you have older guys, they have experience, they're physical. Yeah, it's legit, man. It's no joke. That's for sure. Especially
I learned more. There was a guy, I forget his first name, but his last name was Cox. He was the pitching coach for the Lancaster Barnstormers. I learned more from that man about pitching and just being a pitcher and doing and everything about the game than I did all my time with the Cubs.
Yeah. Look at that.
Because he was invested in me. It just felt different. They were invested in winning itself. Felt like, like I said, the professional ranks, it wasn't like that.
Got it. Totally.
With affiliate, it wasn't like, I mean, maybe for others it was. Like, I'm sure you've had a lot of talks with other people. But for me, getting into the Atlantic League was more like getting back into college.
Right. Yeah. I think for most of the people that I've had on, no matter what their path was, no one loves the minor leagues. I mean, it's very for yourself. Sometimes the writing's on the wall. You're not going to make it, right?
No.
It's only a couple of guys. Like I had Joey Hammond on, who's the head coach at High Point, who played 11 years in the minors. And he's like, I hit a certain point where even though I thought I was going to make it, like I started enjoying helping younger players more than I started like hoping I would get to the big. And he goes, that's when I realized maybe I should coach, which is actually a perfect time for me to ask that to you. Was it all along, either in college or when you were in the minor leagues, that you said, I'm going to coach? Or did you finish playing and go, well, this is what I'm fit to do? Like, when did it realize you wanted to coach?
I had no clue. I finished playing and I met a guy in Rockland and he was like, "Hey, I own a baseball facility. You want to start giving lessons when you're done?" Because I was already with the Boulders, and he's like, "You want to start giving lessons? You can do some things." I'm like, "All right, cool." So turns out to be Bill Sullivan.
Yep.
Owns the facility with this guy.
Yep.
So I create this great relationship with Bill Sullivan, and we go into Hardball, New York, and I'm giving lessons, and we built an awesome brand, and it was going great, and he was taking care of me, and we were doing really, really well. And then I started to think about this. Maybe I can do this in college. Like, why not? Why shouldn't I? If I can make a career out of this, maybe I enjoy it. I love it. And I love it for the right reasons. You know what I mean? So I enjoyed working with the kids. I enjoyed developing people and the person and the player. And I had a great time doing it. So I called Muscat and I was like, "Hey man, you got any spots open? Can I do anything?" And he's like, "Yeah, we need an infield coach." I'm like, "Dude, I'm in. Great. Sign me up. I'll work with the hit. I'll help you with the hitters. I'll help Garvey with the hitters, and I'll do infield." They get going. Some things happen. The pitching coach leaves to be a head coach somewhere in the Midwest.
Okay.
Or the pitching coach of a Division I school, one or the other. Before we even start the season. So like a weekend, he goes, "All right, John, you're going to be the pitching coach now." I'm like, "All right, cool. I'll run with it." So I ran with it, and Cat let me do my thing. And from that point on, it just clicked, and it started going really, really well. It allowed me to kind of work for Hardball and work at STAC at the same time.
Yep.
And things kind of took off from a professional standpoint as an instructor for me. And we were doing really well at STAC. So it was taken off as a pitching coach. And then I was like, oh man, well, maybe this pitching coach thing could be my own thing. So then I branched off from Hardball, and I was going to go all in on being a college coach. And while doing that, I started Evolution, which is my business still that I have to today, just to do lessons on the side. And I had no plans on doing teams until I found out if you're a Division II or Division III coach, you can actually coach these teams over the summer. Division I, you can't, but Division II, I was allowed to. So I would run the teams and do some things, and STAC kind of took off. And then I got a phone call from Bob Greiner, and he calls me up and he says, hey, John, and at this point he was at Dominican.
Yep.
He goes, the College of Mount St. Vincent just had a job opening. He goes, I know it's not a place that you probably would ever look at or something that you would really want to do, but it's an opportunity to get your foot in the door. And he's like, I think this is something that you could do really well with. And I was like, thanks, Bob. I'll give him a call. Gave him a call, interviewed 2 or 3 days later, and they offered me the job. Literally, as I was walking, literally got to my car.
Wow.
And so now I'm sitting there. I'm like, all right, I have this business. I'm doing really well at STAC. STAC just doubled what I was making, right? Because all of a sudden things started taking off there, and the AD bought in and was really taking care of the coaches. And then I got this $7,000 job offer to be the head coach at Mount St. Vincent.
Right.
And I'm like, well, I've done it my whole life. Everywhere I've been, I've started from the bottom, and I've really worked my butt off to do these things. And I just looked at it as an opportunity, and went there, no baseball field, really nothing there. And we did something really special, and it kind of took off from there. Like it took 2 or 3 years of recruiting there and getting things going. But for all of the reasons I became a coach, for all the right reasons, Mount St. Vincent was so enjoyable.
Right.
Because it was just great dudes. We had to build that program. Like there was not many kids. There was no recruiting class when I got there.
Wow.
The first coming in. I think the sophomore class, there was one, and those guys were hungry, and the space and the baseball facilities were limited. So the first 2 years were tough, but it was a great experience. It was a great learning experience for me as a head coach. It was a great experience for those guys because we did get better each year. But that third year, when we took off, it never stopped. And it was fun. And like I said, when we become coaches, it's more about your relationships with the people and building the young men and doing the right thing by them and just creating that really good culture. And it was just so much fun. It was so much fun doing that. And then, you know what we did there, and it created this opportunity here, which I'm so grateful for.
Well, here's what's interesting about that job too is you go through some tough times. You don't have a lot of resources. You have to coach in these crazy scenarios where like maybe you're teaching infielders in the corner of a gym, and I tell you, it really improves you as a coach because you have to be creative, you have to be resourceful. You probably, I'm sure you didn't have, at least in the beginning, a full staff. So you're the pitching coach, you're the hitting coach, you're the infield coach, you're the catching coach, you're doing it all. And you did build a great place. And then I think when you and I first really connected is when I was coaching at Sacred Heart and you came in with your Evolution program. And I said it, and this is what kind of led to us getting on this podcast, because I was a couple of podcasts ago said the best summer team I've seen is John Muller's, where like a lot of these kids in summer ball, it feels like work. They know they're only there to try to get recruited. They don't necessarily want to win. And here's your team playing like fired up. Guys love each other. Everyone's rotating positions. It was just like, that was really, I knew you were doing something right when I just saw how much your guys loved playing for you. And then when the union job came open, I mean, to me, it wasn't a shock with how good you did at Mount St. Vincent, and then how good you did at with the Evolution program. So let's talk about the union job now. Was that free? To me, it seems obvious it's an upgrade for you in terms of an institution and a
Yep.
baseball program, and just just if you will, probably an easier job in some ways than the last one because you do have more resources. Of course, now there's more demands. But so was taking the job just the next logical
So,
step in your coaching career?
so that was probably the hardest decision I ever made
Mm,
in my life because of the relationships I had with the kids, and the team and what we did.
yep.
It was hard. It was really hard saying goodbye to the team there. But it was a decision I had to make for my family, right? And a decision at Mount St. Vincent, I was the baseball coach, the golf coach, and the associate athletic director.
Right, right.
And I have two kids. I was doing a lot here at Union. Obviously, Union, the academics, the school, the facilities. There's so much special things going on here. I mean, my office just moved into here. Right now, they're laying turf. We just built a whole new baseball facility upstairs and turf and a whole infield area downstairs.
Wow.
So, like at Mount St. Vincent, we had a gym.
Right.
And it was so hard leaving those players because I mean, we had a 30-win championship caliber team in the slam dunk, like no doubt about it. We were winning 30 games that year if I didn't leave.
Right.
Coming here, but it was a great opportunity. Liberty League is a great opportunity. A lot tougher competition.
Yep.
I was really interested in living up in this area. I have family that lives up here, multiple family members that live up here. My wife, enjoys coming up here in the summers and doing things, and just the fact that now I'm just a baseball coach.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Going from the golf to AD and baseball, that's a lot of work, my man. That's a lot of work, right?
And so essentially, I am, and as this is a coach, it's hard to be home a lot,
Yeah.
and to be a good dad and be a good father and good husband and all that kind of stuff, and I value that. And for me, this job has allowed me to be a better father and a better husband and be there for my family a lot more. And it wasn't a financial decision at all. It was literally a decision because we wanted to move up to that area. Obviously, from a baseball standpoint, what I could do here, is pretty special.
Yes.
The facilities we have here is pretty special, and we've done pretty well, over the last 2 years. So I'm excited about that and kind of where we're going. But from a personal standpoint, one of the two main reasons were the baseball and obviously the facilities in school, but the family.
Yeah.
The family aspect was huge for me.
So I, of course, know Union College well. Many do, but for those that are maybe watching that don't know a ton about it, just from an institutional standpoint, what makes Union so awesome?
So Union College is about 2,200 students, 2,100 students, right? Our campus, it's Division III, right? But we have a big campus feel. Our campus stretches, from where we're at all the way down to the Mohawk River, where we just built a new hockey arena. So we have D1 hockey, which is pretty cool, which also ties into our facilities. I think we would rival any Division I program in the Northeast, most with facilities, with what we have between this new field house that we're building here, the field house we have right across the street, which we can take live BP in. Like the AD always asks me, John, what do you need? You need anything? You need anything? I've got more than I've ever had in my life.
Right.
You're never going to hear me complain about anything we have. Like, just the space, the facilities, the meeting rooms, the dining halls. From an academic standpoint, one of the best academic schools in the country. Having engineering, bioengineering, chemistry, biology, economics. From a pure academic standpoint, recruiting here is so much different than recruiting at Mount St. Vincent.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just there's a lot. You're sifting through a lot more people, because a lot of people want to come here academically.
Right.
A lot of people now want to come here not only for academics but to play baseball. And I know in the past, the previous coaching staffs and the people that have been here, there's been a lot of people that have had success. They've won championships here. There's been a guy who made it to the major leagues, Fishman.
Right.
He made it to the major leagues and he's been really successful. So Union College has a great history, obviously, of education and athletic success. And for me, I am fired up to be a part of it. And I love every second of it. And I enjoy coming to work every single day, just knowing we have the support from our athletic department. We have the support from our administration. And, I'm getting the things that I need to go out there and win baseball games, and create an experience that my players are going to love and enjoy and want to continuously wake up and come to every day. Right.
So,
and that's it's fantastic.
no, it's really, really well said. So let's talk about this then. Many of the kids I work with in the recruiting process, they have union on their list. Some are good enough, some may not be, at that level yet. Let's just talk even more specifically about like the 2027 class, because I could be wrong, but I don't think I am. You won't have one person from 27 committed yet, correct?
No,
No.
no.
Right.
We finished 26 in about October.
Okay. So how do the kids, and I'm assuming, I know this too, but I'll just ask, like, you already have a list somewhere of 27s you're interested in, correct?
I lost you there.
Oh, okay. Yeah. See, my Zoom hopefully we'll get through it without any glitches. But saying, do you already have a 20 list of 27s that you're interested in?
Yes, to a certain extent. As we go throughout the previous year, 26s, we note 27s that we're interested in. When guys reach out to us via email, we'll go through different videos and we'll make a list. We're not at this point, because of the environment, right? The portal and all these things, like, we don't use the portal for one.
Right.
But the environment that has now been created, there's really no rush. Like, there's really, really good players hanging around, even when we got to October,
Right.
And the only reason why we wait till October is because we have that final camp. So we use that camp to make final decisions, right? So for the last 3 or 4 spots we have left, we're making those decisions in that last camp, right? But for me, yeah, for 27s, we do have a list. But it's not like, oh, we're dead set on these guys. We need to follow these guys. We need to see these guys, how they perform in high school. We need to see how they perform academically, and from an athletic standpoint, baseball standpoint. And we also need to watch them play over the summer. We need to get eyes on them and see where they're going. And then we'll probably start offering guys, towards the end of June into July. And that's when we'll start bringing guys on campus.
All right, let's do this. I'm going to hit stop. All right, so I've had 2 tech glitches now, not on your end. Now I know it's on my end because I had Craig Hansen from Dickinson on last and this happened. So us baseball guys are not really tech guys, so I'm going to try the best that I can here. But so
not a fan.
Yeah, so I started to ask, that how do guys get initially onto your list of 27s? I mean, in my mind, in the United States, there's probably 3,000 kids that would love to play at Union in the class of 27, right? So then, and you're only going to bring in a class of 10, 12, whatever it is. But how do you go from, I've never heard of so-and-so to hear them? Do they come to your camps? Are you going to other camps? Are you following certain teams at tournaments? Do you talk to coaches? Do these kids email directly, or is it all these things?
All of them. I mean, I don't really stick to one. I go out and try to find the best fit, right? So, we're going to tournaments, we're going to events. I talk to various other coaches. I talk to other organizations. There's a lot of guys that, like you said, I'll talk to you. There's certain people that you talk to that know players and that know what you're looking for and have given you players in the past, and kind of got a feel for who you are as a coach. And like, you're either going to fit with this guy or you're not. Like,
right.
And know me, you're either going to really, really like me, or you're not going to work hard enough, and we're not going to get along very well. Right. So like, if you can't be challenged, if you can't be pushed, you probably shouldn't be playing for me. Right. So at the end of the day, I have a lot of relationships that I connect with. I go to certain events. There's different, like the play to win events we go to. We've gone to the head first events. I just was connecting with the new 𝐬𝐮 Hopkins coach, Nate Mulberg. He started an event in Rye Country Day that we just connected with in Westchester County. So that's where we've been for the last handful of years. I told him, I said, I'd love to go and be a part of it. And, we're going there. So a lot of it's the connections and who we're talking to and where going. But wherever you go, you never know. I found some really good players in the middle of nowhere, at things on field 7 where nobody was sitting there watching. For me, the cool thing is the way evolution and being a Division III college coach kind of molds together.
Right.
It allows me to be at all of these games and do all these things, because not only am I there to recruit, I have to coach a game, right? I have to coach a game. But after that game or before that game, all I'm doing is recruiting from the second that day starts till the second that day ends. So I get to follow a lot of teams. I get to see a lot of random teams. I get to see a lot of guys play, and I'll see a guy play. I'm like, man, he's playing the game the right way. I got to come back and watch him again. I got to come back and see him again. Like, yeah, that guy could be a good fit for us. So for me, I'm lucky enough that I get to see a lot of baseball over the course of the summer, naturally, because of the way my business operates and the way I operate as a head coach here at Union. So it works really well. But there's we invite guys to camps, going back to what you said, like all the kids that we see, we invite to a camp. Right. We make some decisions on guys before we invite them to camp. Yeah. That we can do that. But for the most part, we try to invite as many of those players that we have on our board to come to camp so that we can evaluate them, get a feel for them, how they'd be in our dugout, how they would work with us, the way if they're coachable, the way they speak, the way they talk, do they look you in the eyes? And then you get to watch them play, we play an extended game, we pop the lights on, we're there all day, so we do a showcase, we evaluate them, then we play, 14 innings, 15 innings of baseball, where guys are getting plenty of bats and all that good stuff. So yeah, it's a little bit of everything. But I think for me specifically, I've been lucky from the recruiting standpoint because I'm just on both sides of the fence and I'm there. I'm there all day. There's not something I'm going to miss because I can't miss it for the business and I can't miss it for Union.
And it's got to be this scenario has to have happened where you're actually coaching a game and there's a kid on the other team who you might not have known. And at the end of the day, you go, that sucker's good. Where maybe if you strolled by and watched 2 innings, you would never have figured that out. But watching everything that the kid does, and then you go over to the coach and say, by the way, I coach at Union. Can I get that kid's info? Right? I mean, that's got to happen.
All the time. Yeah. All the time. It'll happen a lot too. Like, because I recruit a lot of guys from Watica.
Yeah.
Right? So we play Watica. You go to Diamond Nation, you're going to play Watica.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, they're a great team. They have great players. He's a great dude.
Yes, great dude.
And, we'll be coaching against him. I'll be recruiting 3 or 4 kids that are on the field. When I'm coaching first base, like the first baseman, I could be recruiting that guy.
Yeah,
what I mean? So it's great because they get to see how I'm coaching too, the way I treat my guys and the way I run evolution. We run it like a college baseball program. We don't treat it like it's just, all right, here we go. Like, let's just show up.
Right.
Like, we're there to win. We're there to showcase and do our thing. But part of that process is showing that you're a really good competitor and you want to win, right? So, and bringing that sort of intensity and that attitude, especially the way we do it. You better be happy with doing all these things or it ain't going to work, right? So for me, like, you're right. Like, I get to have that feel for certain players. Like, I get to watch a guy literally 10 feet from home plate that I'm recruiting.
Yeah.
Which I think is pretty cool. And it's legal.
Very cool.
And it's
right.
great.
Exactly. And then the other thing I wanted to say, and this is not to certainly lecture you just said it, but I want it for anyone watching. I think people totally underestimate how important camps are at the college's camp. Yes, there are other camps you can go to, showcases where there's a bunch of coaches, but there's some flaws to that system. If you're interested in Union College, number one, you could see the school, you get to see the facilities, you get to meet the whole coaching staff. And then as a college coach, the kid's interested in Union or he wouldn't be wasting his time coming to camp. As opposed to going to Diamond Nation, loving the shortstop, you make the first phone call and he's like, yeah, I'm talking to Duke, Virginia, and whatever. And you're like, well, that's a waste, Yeah. So, and then in addition, as you just said it, now you can run this camp in the way you want to evaluate. So you can run the workout and run the game in the way that you want it. So you get a great idea of if the kid could play or not. And then you even said it, you also get to find out what kind of kid he is. Is he fun to talk to, fun to hang around with? It's the kind of kid I want to be on the team. So there's this it's a money grab thing. Listen, coaches run it because yes, it does bring in some money and but you're not running it you're running it. The best thing that could happen is you get 4 recruits out of a camp. There would be nothing better, right? So people just, it's not sometimes that complicated that I'm like, if you want to play for John Muller, at least get evaluated by him, because then if I send a kid to your camp and you call me and say, listen, the kid's okay, he's just not good enough for us. That's great that this kid knows he's not the right fit for you. Getting a no in
Move on.
You move on. You move on. So I think that's what happens to a lot of kids. And when I first meet with kids, and I don't want to make this about me or the recruiting, but I'll talk to this kid and I'll say, well, you've been on this team, you've gone to this events. Well, what feedback have you gotten? Who's interested and who's not? Well, I've never heard anything. I go, come on, then. How do you, right? Exactly.
Well, none of these schools are going to work if they haven't heard from them.
Well, and me just saying that actually made me realize the question I wanted to ask you. For the evolution group, are you helping them on the recruiting side?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you'll say, hey, I know you're a power four guy, or hey, listen, so that must be an interesting part of the job too. Like you said, you're on both sides of the fence. You are on it with your evolution group, right?
Yep. So I have them fill out a questionnaire. So they've already done that basically, and I have them, fill out exactly what they're looking for. There's like 20 different questions. Then there's a list at the bottom, all the schools they're interested in. And, usually when you get the sophomores, they're like Florida State, Duke, Texas. I'm like, all right, well, none of that's happening because you would know already, right?
Yeah.
It's really just finding the right fit, and it's not that hard to. I mean, you and I could sit there with a kid in a room, watch him play baseball for a little bit, talk to him a little bit. We can find them great fits. Yeah. The biggest problem is a lot of kids don't want what they're supposed to really be fitted into, like trying to fit a sport bag into a round post. So a lot of that conversation has to happen. And going back to what you said about the camps too, like you have to go to these camps. If a coach isn't talking to you or a coach isn't inviting you to the camp, then if the coach is letting you leave the camp without talking to you, that's not a great thing. But it gives you feedback. Good feedback and positive feedback are equally as important.
Yes,
right?
yes.
You need to be able to make decisions for yourself, and you need to be able to move yourself in the right direction. We have a kid here. There's multiple kids on this list. We brought in 14 kids this past year. I'd say at least half of them came to the camp. Right. And there's one guy who I really loved, and such a great kid and such a good thing, but I already had offers out. And I was so bummed about it. And I kept telling the kid, I'm like, I have offers out. I really want you. I just can't. I'm honest when I recruit. I want people to be honest with my evolution kids. I want people to be honest with me when they're recruiting my evolution kids. And I'm honest with families and other coaches when I'm recruiting their kids.
Yeah.
I believe in those relationships because it extends further. If you do end up on my team, it's got to extend until you graduate, until you as you move on in your life. But we have a kid here, I won't say his name, who was just the greatest kid in the world. And I wanted him so bad. It's just I made an offer like 2 weeks before. And I was like, listen, now I give deadlines for the first time ever. This is the first year I gave deadlines because of the environment. Yeah. And it worked out fantastically this year. It was great. You give me 2 weeks. And he waited 2 weeks for me. I called the other guy. I said, what's going on? He said, I still got to wait for this offer from a Division I school. I said, well, it's November. It's, what are we doing? Like, you're not getting that offer. I said, I have to let you know that now I'm going to move forward with this other guy. I loved him. I'm so happy he's here. And he killed it this fall and made me look like a genius. He's going to be playing. He's going to be doing things. Like, he just was such a great human being in camp, worked his butt off, did all the right things. And that's a perfect example of a guy who, was kind of on the outside looking in October, not last October, the October before that. And like, I just loved the person. Yeah. Player. He competed well. And I'm like, I got it. I almost just went out and just took an extra guy and carried 41 people here. Right. So, right. But I didn't want to do that because I don't make things up when I'm recruiting. Right. So, right. But there's a prime example of just doing the right thing, being a part of the process and just being positive, both I'm being honest back and forth and communicating really well. Right. So that's the best thing. And it works well for me. It's from both sides. When the summer starts, I put one hat on, I put one hat off, I put the other hat on, and I go back and forth. And it's easy for conversation. It's not, they never interfere with each other. Right. Because of how I've been able to navigate it. And I have a really good assistant coach here now, Duke Beck, who's been really good. He helped me out tremendously this summer. And he's a huge part of, why we had so much success this year in the recruiting process. But for me, it has never became a conflict of interest. It has never became an issue with other people. And if anything, the other college coaches probably enjoy it because I'm sending them good players. Yeah, I'm telling them who they are, and from another coaching standpoint, now I've built relationships, guys like you, there's other different travel organizations that I have friends and that I've been around and that I've talked to. So for me, it just works perfectly together.
And there's a lesson in there of what you said too, which is You want kids to come to Union where it's like they're pumped to go to Union as
Yep.
opposed to the kid who's like, "Oh, I didn't get these offers, I'll go to Union." Like
Yep.
that's why would you want that's such an awesome place. You should have people going there that
Mhm.
that's their home run, man. They're not settling to go there. So with that example you just gave, the part of me that makes it happy is everything happens for a reason. This kid who loved Union got where he wanted to go, and he's going to be happy to be there every day. He's not going to be bitching and complaining about certain things. He's going to be take every day and be
Yep.
happy about it, right?
Yep.
All
And
right,
when you're carrying this many guys too, like you got to have guys that want to be at the school. Like not there's only realistically 13 guys are going to play a good amount
right,
of position players. Realistically, 12 pitchers or maybe 13 pitchers are going to get. There's going to be 40 guys there. So
yes,
if you don't love the school, if you don't love Union, if you don't love our philosophy, our handbook, the way our culture, our environment, the way we work, if you don't love competing and putting the work in, regardless if you're the top 9 or the top 13 or you're waiting for your turn this year, next year, whatever, if you don't love it, it's just not going to work. You're not going to enjoy your experience, and you're certainly not going to you're not going to get anything out of it,
yeah,
right? So, for me, it's really, really important that when I reach out to a guy that I get good communication and good feedback back. When I am looking to make a decision on a guy and I invite a guy to camp, sometimes we just invite guys to camp to see, like, is this guy realistic?
right,
Like,
right,
oh, I think this guy's really, really good. But if he doesn't come to the camp or doesn't even respond to me why he can't come to the camp, then he's probably not a realistic option for us right now.
right,
You know
right,
what I mean? Like that's part of it too. Like we don't want to chase people, just like kids don't want to be, pushed around by other coaches. It goes both ways. And
totally.
and sometimes people lose that concept.
Yeah, yeah, and you have that great, background of running that team too. So you've seen it from every angle, and soon
Mhm.
enough you'll see it as a dad, which you're probably too young for that, but eventually you'll
Oh
get there.
God.
But yeah,
Back
exactly.
when you started, I had a story for you. We had a guy, so my kid just started baseball this year, right? And Carson is 6. And he's good. Like he's good. Like whatever. We play every sport. Like we don't
Yeah,
I don't even care if he plays baseball. He's gonna be
right.
happy. That's what he's gonna be.
Yes,
Right. He's
right.
gonna play all the sports and figure it out. So he ends up he's pretty good at baseball. Guy turns me over. Oh, your son's playing summer baseball, right? This year he's gonna do this. I'm like, so my son, he's 6.
Right.
He was knocking out and play summer ball on the travel team. I said, no.
Right.
We're gonna go on vacation. We're gonna practice. We're gonna do things. He's gonna play he'll go to a bunch of camps. But like,
Yeah,
do we
yeah. No, nuts.
travel baseball for a 6-year-old? The guy looks at me and goes, but you're a baseball coach. I go, yeah, I know. And he's
Right.
not playing summer baseball. He's
Right.
6 years old.
Yeah. When you're old enough to really get it, maybe 10, 11, that's the time. And it should be kid led by the kid. Yeah, not led by the dad, that's for sure. But all right, John, I think I lost you here, and that was a good time I was going to end anyway. So I'm going to hit stop on the record. Thank you all so much for listening to episode 67 of the Game Plan Podcast. Again, this is your host, Wayne Mazzoni. My background is 30 years as a college baseball coach, current college baseball recruiting advisor. For more information about what I do, please visit my website, collegebaseballadvisor.com. You can see players I've placed, players I'm currently work with, and fill out some information for me to do some research on you and set up an introductory Zoom call where we could just talk out your recruiting process. No obligation, no charge for that. Again, hope you enjoyed the conversation with John Muller. I'd like to remind you that this episode is made possible through the sponsorship of the Mohegan Sun World Baseball Coaches Convention that takes place January 15th to 17th at the Mohegan Sun Casino. If you go to their website, baseballcoachesclinic.com, you will see all the speakers this year, all the schedule of the event. You can see the vendors, see information about past events. It should be known that if you do sign up for the event, you automatically get all the videos when they're done, which is important because, of course, if you physically go to the event, you cannot watch every presentation going on at once. There's usually 3, sometimes 4 a session. But when you go to the event or register, you get access by video to all the talks, so you won't miss anything. Again, that's baseballcoachesclinic.com, and we look forward to seeing you on our next episode of the podcast. Thank you.